about the White House response to this. Top of mind. That doesn't cut it for me. Yeah. For more on this very bizarre comment from President Biden, let's welcome in commentary editor for the Washington Times, Kelly Sadler, and National Advisory Board member for Project 21 and radio host Christopher Arps. Kelly, we'll begin with you. What concerns me here is that Joe Biden never corrected himself. So I get Jackie Walorski, 58 years old. She was in Congress for 10 years, so she was in Congress when he was vice president. That issue, health in America, hunger in America, near and dear to her heart. Joe Biden was invited to her funeral. What concerns me is I think any person functioning normally, cognitively, dare I say, would probably recognize that they had just said something really awful in front of her family and then made some sort of comment to get themselves out of that really uncomfortable situation. Not the case with Joe Biden.
No. Also, the White House, the press office specifically, promised when Joe Biden came into office that they'd be truthful, transparent, and they wouldn't gaslight the American public. What happened yesterday at that conference was an absolute gaffe. Joe Biden lost his mind. We should be questioning whether he's capable to serve as the president and what is health and ask him for some health record.
Well, Kelly, we've been questioning this for 20 months, yes, but nothing ever seems to happen. I'm serious. Here we go yet again. I would like to know what a doctor that specializes in dementia has to say about witnessing a comment like that.
Yes, and we, as the conservative press, have been asking these questions from day one, right? On the campaign trail, when he couldn't appear publicly, and it had to campaign from his basement. But the mainstream media has been reluctant to bring these questions up. And if you look at their reporting yesterday, they all know that this was a huge gap, right? They all know it. And they all know that the press secretary was absolutely told them a lie. But instead of saying that and questioning why the president made such a gaffe, they're just reporting it straight. Like, this is what happened, and this was her response. That is something that would never have happened in Donald Trump's year.
Yeah, imagine if Trump, yeah, it's a good point.
You're right. Kelly, I was looking at all the media coverage. So at least, NBC News and some other media outlets covered the story. But you're right. It was just a basic, almost like a press release. Here's what happened. Yeah. Here's what the press secretary said. No pushback. However, Chris, though, I was listening to that, and there was some pushback from some media. I don't know exactly who it was, but there were a lot of voices that shouted, well, that's not an answer to our question. It's a legitimate question. So to Kelly's point, I don't even say if it was President Trump, if any Republican did this, there would be massive, massive calls for a doctor to evaluate them.
Yeah, that's correct. This gaffe yesterday showed me two things. One, that President Biden is obviously suffering from mental difficulties. And the second thing that this tells me is that he's not in on the loop, and they're not really telling him what's going on with this administration. You would think that they would have talked to him before this press conference about this, that he would have been intimately involved in this program that he's coming out on the podium to talk about, and he's not. While Donald Trump was president, we constantly heard things about the 25th Amendment. The president slipped walking down a icy walkway, and they were talking about using the 25th Amendment to remove him. Yeah. It's an obvious double standard.
It wasn't even icy. I think the president had new leather-soled shoes that weren't quite scuffed in enough to give him any grip. So he was just walking carefully down that ramp. I remember that. But yes, you're right, Chris. The left was like, he needs to be impeached. Look at that. He's in poor health. He took a cognitive test. That's where Ronnie Jackson sort of rose to fame. People forget Ronnie Jackson was Barack Obama's doctor and George W. Bush's doctor as well. My problem, Kelly, is that we all have to tiptoe around this. We don't even know how to. We're not doctors, so we can't. Cognitive. Look, he's just not all there. That's what it looks like. We've known this for 20 months. The problem is, when he does something like that, what does it project to our adversaries overseas? What does that project to Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping in China? The president literally referenced a congresswoman who died 2 months ago and then never cleaned up after himself. It is so bizarre. I feel bad for Karine Jean-Pierre in the sense that she has to somehow spin that, but spinning has turned into lying.
Yeah, and that's how do you spin that?
We had Sean Spicer on last week. He was Donald Trump's first press secretary. Of course, he's got a great show here on Newsmax. And Sean was like, look, you don't want to lie. You can't lie. Yeah. Spinning and lying, there's a fine line. We're getting so much of the opposite now, the former.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything is upside down with this White House. But what she needed to do yesterday was just say, listen, the president was very tired. He's had a stressful calendar.
Right.
He made a mistake, and just move on from it. If she would have said that, the questions would have stopped. The fact of the matter is she didn't. And so the press just felt like, okay, we need an answer from you. And it clearly wasn't because Jackie was top of mind.
Right.
I was told that the White House even had a video that they were going to present honoring the late representative, and decided to
Couldn't
pull
do it after that. Yeah, that was
yeah,
probably a good move.
Because of the president's just obvious mistake there.
No, Kelly, good
they must
point.
have been mortified.
Right.
Absolutely mortified.
I just think even if she said, you know what, the president and the late congresswoman were really close. He knew he made the mistake. He didn't know how to get himself out of it. He felt so awkward and bad. Even if she had said that, guess what? That makes Joe Biden human, makes him likable. It means his approval rating's not 39%. Okay, we've seen this over the last couple of days. Look, they're not out of the woods in Florida. Certainly Georgia and the Carolinas are going to deal with Tropical Storm Ian over the next couple of days. Don Lemon yesterday, take a look at this. He's on with a NOAA expert trying to make Ian all about climate change. Mind you, this is the first and only hurricane to hit the U.S. this hurricane season. Take a look.
Can you tell us what this is and what effect climate change has on this phenomenon?
Well, we can come back and talk about climate change at a later time.
You said you want to talk about climate change, but what effect does climate change have on this phenomenon that is happening now? Because it seems these storms are intensifying. That's the question.
I don't think you can link climate change to any one event.
Okay.
On the whole, on the cumulative, climate change may be making storms worse, but to link it to any one event, I would caution against that.
Wow, Chris, just your reaction to that.
Well, and further on in that clip, he said, I know these storms are getting more intense because I'm from Florida.
Right.
You know, these are the people that are supposed to be all about science. Here's a guy that knows about science and knows about hurricanes, and he's sitting here refuting him on national television and telling him, hey, I'm from Florida. I know these hurricanes are getting more intense. These people are absolute joke, and that's why Don Lemon is being shifted to the mornings on CNN and probably eventually shifted out.
Yeah, Kelly, we got to wrap it, but just the fact that, homes are going underwater, people could potentially lose their lives. And that's what Don Lemon is asking the acting director of NOAA last night.
Right, October 1st this weekend. And we're literally talking about, this is the first and only hurricane we've seen. So this has been the least serious hurricane season we've had in 25 years here in the U.S. You could say the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't you say the exact opposite?
Yeah, no, the left is absolutely salivating over this because they want to make it political. They want to come after Ron DeSantis, and any step that he makes, a misstep, they're going to attack him politically. Charlie Crist was, campaigning off of this yesterday, sending emails. This is not a time to be political.
Yes.
It's a time to save lives.
We'll get into that, Kelly, top of the hour. A lot more to unpack here. Kelly Sadler, Chris Arps, thank you. See you soon. Let's welcome